mouth mounts have reached popularity to the point where it's time to do a buyer's guide on what to look for in a GoPro mouth mount. So I've got 5 popular mouth mounts here in front of me, and we're going to talk about some of the different features of them and things to look for and things to know when you're shopping for a GoPro mouth mount. We've got Chomp from XS Photo, we've got the GoPro Mouth Mount, we've got the Dummy Mount V1 as well as the Dummy Mount V2, and then we've got the Pro Standard Grill Mount. You can find individual reviews of all these products down in the video description, but we're going to be first talking about the big separating feature between the Dummy Mount V2 and the Pro Standard and the other mouth mounts. And this is the big one you're going to want to look for when shopping for a GoPro mouth mount, and that's how the mouthpiece is implemented. The Chomp, the Dummy Mount V1, and the GoPro mouth mount all use a rubber snorkel piece. They then zip tie that snorkel piece onto a differently shaped but standard GoPro mount. All of them have an air hole so you can breathe through, and a GoPro mount and a standard snorkel mouthpiece. Those mouthpieces are different, but that's how those mounts work. These mounts, while they do allow you to get that awesome view you can get using a mouth mount, are limited in the amount of vibration they can reduce because of that snorkel mouthpiece. So that snorkel mouthpiece is a piece of rubber, and because it's rubber, it allows for a large amount of flex to go on. So the only thing that you're actually holding on to when you bite onto this mount is that rubber snorkel piece. And that rubber snorkel piece has a lot of flex to it, which means the camera in turn can flex a lot. And this can lead to vibrations in the shot. There is a way around this, and that's to put a floaty backdoor on your camera. A good idea if you're going to be using the surfing anyway, and then bend the mount so the floaty backdoor is pressed up against your chin. This gives the camera a second point of stability, allowing you to get a fair bit more stable shot than if you weren't using that. If you're going to be using one of these snorkel style mouth mounts, it's a really good idea to have a floaty backdoor because it will make your shots usable. Without that, there is a lot of vibration in the shots. The second kind of mount is one that brings the plastic GoPro mount all the way back into your mouth, allowing you to bite down on the mount itself. Now, these mounts are normally covered in rubber, so there's no way you're going to damage your teeth, but it does allow you to get a much more stable shot with much less vibration. So you'll find things like the Dummy Mount 2 and the Grill Mount allow you to get a much more stable vibration-free shot, even without tricks like applying the floaty back door onto the camera. The third thing you're going to want to be aware of is whether or not you can seal your mouth while using the mount. The standard snorkel style mounts rarely have this ability. In fact, I've never seen a GoPro snorkel style mouth mount which has the ability to seal it while using it. This is because they have large holes built into them to allow you to breathe while using them, which is good. What this does mean though is that if you crash, say surfing, you end up with a large mouthful of water and spitting out your GoPro camera, which is why it's very important to make sure your cameras are tethered when using them on mouth mounts. The Dummy Mount 2 also does not have this ability, although it does allow you to get your mouth more closed than you do with the Dummy Mount 1 or the GoPro or Chomps. But the Pro Standard Grill Mount actually allows you to fully seal your mouth around the edges of the mount because there's no holes in it. It's a single small piece of plastic that comes out of your mouth, and you're able to get a very good seal on it, allowing no water into your mouth, which means that if you're actually surfing and you crash with this, you will not end up with a mouthful of water, which is a huge benefit. So I didn't really realize how critical that last piece was, being able to seal your mouth, until I used a mount that I could and realized that everything else was just kind of silly if I had the ability to seal my mouth versus not. Those are the big things I would watch for when buying a GoPro mouth mount. Beyond that, there's small details here and there, but if those things in mind, you'll have a very good idea of whether or not the mount you're looking at is the right mount for you. Again, if you have the ability to, I would avoid the standard snorkel style mouth mounts and look for one where the mount is actually run into your mouth, because you get a much more stable shot. Finally, I'll close off with some tips while using these things. Add the floaty backdoor, especially if you're around the water. 1, it makes your GoPro float, and 2, you get a lot lot more stable footage. Then I would definitely tether the mount, because with mouth mounts, it's nice to be able to spit them out, tuck them somewhere, and doing that, if you're surfing or kiteboarding, there is a high chance of you losing the mount. So get a nice little strap. Dummy mount makes some nice straps, but you can even just use a piece of string. Make sure it's not going to wrap around you and tangle you, but find a nice way to do it where it's out of the way, and then make sure that it is breakable in case it gets caught on something. So you don't want it to be strong, but not too strong. And finally, have confidence while using them. They look a little bit ridiculous, but they do shoot awesome video footage. The footage you get with a mouth mount is much, much better than the footage you get with a GoPro head strap mount. The mouth mount is a much more centered shot, and it feels much more grounded than something like a head strap mount, which is floating on top of your head. And it's just, it has to do with the geometry of your body and what happens with your mouth when you move your head up and down. So it is a much, much better shot. If you're thinking about them, they're a great mount. They're really good for, like I said, surfing and skiing and snowboarding. And I've got a buddy who uses it kiteboarding. So a really cool mount. You should totally check them out. And these are some things to keep in mind while shooting them. I hope this video was helpful. If you've enjoyed it, you should get subscribed. Check out my channel for lots more videos. You can find links to reviews of all these products down in the video description, as well as a couple other buyer's guide to help you get educated before buying GoPro mounts. But most of all, guys, until next time, thank you very, very much for watching.